Mr. Bejar, social media can make people less lonely, can it not?
It can do that.
Social media can deliver insight, can it not?
It can.
Social media, when used properly, can give voice to the timid, can it not?
It can.
Social media can also spread hate, can it?
It can.
And isn't it a fact that much of social media, not all, but much of social media has become a cesspool of snark?
What I can speak to, Senator, is it happens all so often, and it doesn't need to be that way.
Yeah. But is it that way for much of, not all, but much of social media?
One of the numbers that I talk about is this 20% of kids who witnessed bullying in the last 7 days. And this is content that does not get taken down. If people comment on it, it gets promoted.
Yeah. Well, let me put it another way. I'm trying to sum this up for us. Isn't it a fact that social media has lowered the cost of being an a-hole?
Yes.
And isn't it true that social media removes any geographical border to the harassment of others?
Yes.
And isn't it true that some forms of social media optimize for engagement?
Yes, I think using your term, they reward being an a-hole.
Yeah. And isn't it true that some forms of social media use surveillance to identify our and our kids' hot buttons?
I cannot speak to that.
Isn't it true that some forms of social media use algorithms to show us and our kids stuff that pushes those hot buttons?
I will say this. Recently, my daughter had somebody go into one of her posts about cars and said, you know, you'd like to drive and you like cars because you saw a man doing it. And she said, I'm studying automotive restoration. I've been doing this for years. I know a lot about cars. I am more than qualified. And the person shot back, no, women just belong in the passenger seat. And to every point that you just made, I will say that when I asked her about that post, if she would delete it because she knows reporting would do nothing, she said, I will not delete it because I'm worried that that will mean that less people will see my posts.
All right. I'm not going to ask you this question. I'm going to make the statement because you're probably not familiar with Louisiana, but in my state, social media has impacted the news media, particularly print media. Thank God for our TV news and our radio news, but when it comes to our print media, we in Louisiana, and that's print media and paper and print media, which is on the internet. When it comes to print media, we in Louisiana are a news desert. We've only got about 2 real non-news print media journalists left who are fair and aren't opinion journalists. Most of our print media members are now sports journalists, which is fine. I love sports, but there's a lot else going on in the world. Let me wrap up this way. What you do is what you believe, isn't it?
It is.
And everything else is just cottage cheese, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. I look forward to the day when members of the United States Senate will come together and establish a new rule. not used every day or every week or every month or even every year. But that rule would say, when there is a consensus, and when you as a senator can demonstrate that you have 60 votes to pass a bill, that you have the right to bring that bill to the floor of the United States Senate, no matter who doesn't want it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.